Welcome one and all to Last Stop Penn Station podcast featuring Cary Silken and Ian Riccaboni. They dive deep into Cary's wealth of stories, and no subject is off limits. From the world of wrestling to his ticket agency, growing up in New Jersey, drug-fueled underground days, hustling in the French Quarter of New Orleans, and endless days and nights in New York City, every story is worth telling.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Last Stop Penn Station. I'm Ian Riccaboni, joined by our guest of honor, Cary Silken. Cary, Bob Seger, 00, a lot of fun responses.
We did get some fun responses, and I didn't know if people would want to hear about 00 and Frosty Fries.
Yeah.
But they did.
I can't get the image out of my head of the babushka.
Don't forget the cape.
The
Black Sabbath t-shirt.
It's probably be in style though. If you're a rock and roll star.
Poor Frosty.
I mean, yeah, rest in peace, Frosty. But you know, today, if you're a handsome 25-year-old dude and you're out with a babushka and a cape.
He was 55. That was the problem.
Trying to stay hip though.
And I mentioned, we always have a short YouTube preview. Ian's getting thinner as the weeks go on. It's not like I'm fat, but it's like everything just goes right here. But I have an excuse. I'm 63.
You look great. Right. You look great. And thank you, by the way. I'm trying my hardest. But.
And your hairdo, I think I mentioned this last time. Now you're really getting near Red Rooster territory.
Right. Oh, the great Terry Taylor, one of Steve Carino's friends, and we wish Steve well.
Yes,
so he's got some good coffee, Squared Circle Roast.
Yeah, and I think Steve listens to us.
He does. Yeah, hi Steve, thanks for listening. But we have a lot of fun, and we were talking about the weight loss and things like that on the week by week, the ROH week by week. I heard you would have Al Pacino play you.
Did I say Pacino or De Niro?
Oh, excuse me, De Niro.
Who did you have play you?
Well, that's where I was going because the one time I was at Taco Bell and the woman behind the counter said, "Hey, aren't you on TV?" And I said, "Yep, I'm on Phillies Nation TV on Comcast." She goes, "Oh, I thought you were Val Kilmer, but you're too fat." So there you go.
Was that your answer?
That was my answer, Val Kilmer.
Well, due to my advanced years, I wanted to do a 3-part answer. Back in the 80s, early 80s, when the movie Stripes was really popular,
yeah.
People used to tell me more than one, "Oh, you look like Bill Murray a little bit."
Oh, I could see that.
So maybe Bill Murray could play me in that era, and have Robert De Niro take over after that.
There you go.
For some of the later years, but a lot of other good things going on with Ring of Honor. The watch party for the Pure title number 3 was just this past Monday,
and we've trended on Twitter nationwide all 3 times now.
It's amazing, and the matches are so good, and it's. This is going to sound really cliched. It's been critically acclaimed.
Right. But it has.
Even by Jim Cornette, who's our friend.
He is our friend, yeah.
But, and I listen to some of his podcasts, and I like to hear him critique modern day wrestling. And he's not a big fan of modern day wrestling. But, hello, Lamb Chop. But not only was he praising the Pure title tournament, the packages that were used, the look, the graphics, but he gave you a big compliment.
Oh, he did. That meant a lot. I got to commentate with Jim, and a lot of people have different opinions of Jim, but he makes a lot of money in professional wrestling, and it's not all about money, but if you're making money, you're probably doing something right, and you're probably engaging you're probably engaging a good audience. So to have compliments coming from someone of his stature was very neat.
Yeah. And when I do listen to his show, and I'm not, he reviews the WWE product as well as the AEW product. And I'll usually tape both of them and sometimes watch them. But when I listen to him, I'll sometimes go back to, watch it because of, his perspective. And everything evolves, right?
Right.
So there's been an evolution, a major evolution in pro wrestling. And where I'm trying to go with this is Ring of Honor also has matches that, are high spot after high spot and false finish after false finish. It's just, the fans, it's just what things have evolved to. But he makes sense of things that just shouldn't be done for a particular reason. So keep teaching the kids, Jim. But the point is, he loves the Pure Title tournament.
And what's there not to love? I mean, you talk about little things. On this past week's episode, Fred Yehai, I think he's got a big future. A lot of wrestlers will do a small package, and they'll just kind of do it to do it, and maybe try and make their opponent use some energy to kick out. Fred Yehai locked his legs in a way.
I'd never seen that.
Which no one would ever kick out of that in a million years. I mean, there's little tiny things in this tournament. You're seeing it from Josh Woods with his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You see it from Jonathan Gresham, who's got a new move every 5 seconds. And he's been wrestling for 15 years now, and he's pulling out something different every time. You're seeing it from Jay Lethal, a guy who's been all the way to the top of the mountain and back. And it's been incredible.
And a guy who... He's a good friend of ours, and he's basically I was going to say a Ring of Honor legend. He's getting to that status. Silas Young.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we saw something different from him.
He can do a lot of things in the ring. So if you haven't tuned in to Ring of Honor lately, please do. This tournament is excellent. And I also enjoyed the Death Before Dishonor.
Right. So, I mean, we trended 3 times in 8 days, which for Ring of Honor, coming from, essentially from 0 to 60 was amazing. So we want to thank all the fans for that, too.
Yeah, that brought a lot of memories back.
Yeah.
It's funny. The CZW ROH match.
Oh,
it was so brutal. Now, here's where Jim might contradict himself. He was there that night, and he does, he'll say about the garbage wrestling.
Oh, I bet he was loving it.
But
I mean, the fans weren't doing. That's what he cares about,
right? And they did the same stuff. Maybe not. They did the same stuff in Memphis,
right? And in War Games in Crockett,
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely forgot about that. I completely forgot about the way the cage was not your traditional cage. It was more of a fence.
Yeah.
It was definitely R or X rated with the with the crowd, but the intensity was there. I obviously was not at ringside,
right? Because
you just couldn't be.
J.J. Dillon was, though. That was a nice touch.
J.J. Dillon was there, and Jim was there. And I was wondering if Mike G might have been at the bell, but whoever had to be away from that action. And I was so impressed with Adam Pearce.
Yeah.
It was great. B.J. Whitmer was
unsung
fantastic.
hero.
Who am I leaving out?
Yeah, Adam Pearce, B.J. Whitmer. The roof goes off the place when Homicide comes out. Ace Steel, who's
he was amazing.
Not a guy that gets a lot of credit in Ring of Honor, but he was tremendous.
Right.
Yeah, and the CZW guys as well. Spider Nate Webb was a good friend of ours.
And Chris Hero.
And Claudio. Claudio, still one of the strongest men in the world. It was amazing to see what he was doing in there.
I did a double take because to see him, not with a shaved head,
right,
is unusual.
Or even not in those little bikini briefs he wears now in WWE.
Right. Boy, you think Ian's good shape?
Right.
Go check out Claudio. And before we move on, we were talking about the updates from the last episode. I got to ask you, because I got a few emails and I saw there's a lot of curiosity about the mystery of Ian's mom and Sir. Now, I saw it because of tagging him in Twitter from Sir Rod Stewart.
Well, I'll tell you what, the action was hot and heavy, literally, because I did some research. I found the set list from that evening. It was in 1984, September 1st, so the day before my brother's 5th birthday.
So the Allentown Fair was in full bloom.
Full bloom, main concourse, you name it. The
27-inch woman was down there. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was, you had the finest meats and cheeses from the Allentown Farmers Market. The kettle corn popping. But in terms of what happened, there's an article in the Morning Call about this event, and then one from 1992, 8 years later.
About your mom and Rod Stewart?
But 8 years later, and they literally compare it to when Michael Jackson lit himself on fire in the Pepsi commercial. Rod Stewart apparently got sparked by his pyrotechnics during this concert. So not only is Rod Stewart on fire at this point, but he's still trying to mac it, allegedly, with the ladies of Allentown. So
So we don't have an actual update.
Other than Rod Stewart at one point have been on fire during the concert.
Maybe he was on fire after the show, but we don't know yet.
According to my family, not so much, but we'll get some clarification.
Okay.
Still Good working stuff. On it. So that's a weird conversation that I'm bracing myself to have. Maybe Thanksgiving. Maybe I'll save it for Thanksgiving dinner.
As the turkey's being carved. Mom, please refresh my memory. I've heard these stories about you and Sir Rod.
Please regale us.
Yes.
Well, Rod Stewart, one of the unsung rockers of the late 60s. Every picture tells a story. Gasoline Alley, Maggie May, you name it. And then with Faces. But one of your favorite bands is one of the unsung rock groups of the late 60s, 70s, 80s. And that's where we're headed today, aren't we, Cary?
Yeah, I have one last male groupie, ultimate male groupie moment. But it was actually a male groupie couple of weeks. Now, in a previous episode, when I was talking about meeting Rush and befriending Whitey, the driver for Rush, after meeting him at the Fabulous Poodles show, and him hipping me to these various people like Lurch, the driver from Bob Seger. We spoke about him. Yeah. And this guy, BR, who was on the 1980 Tull tour, it yielded me a little business, but it didn't get me any closer to the, that was a band I tried to meet. So when I tell this next story about 1982, I want people to think of not that, oh, Christ, Cary's telling another Jethro Tull story. I want you to pick your favorite band. I don't care if it's Korn or it's Madonna or it's Nickelback.
Wow.
Or if it's Primus or if it's Bruce Springsteen. Think about if you could spend a couple weeks within the world of that band on tour, not just as a fan, but behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And it's really odd how the whole thing transpired. But the beginning of it is like most of these stories. Excuse me. Here we are, 1982, September 18th. And Tull's on a new tour. The Broadsword and the Beast tour. They're still playing arenas, which they pretty much played arenas into the 90s, but they're in Nassau Coliseum. It's a sold out show. I also remember this is one of the first times like all these other concerts I went to, and we talk about me seeing McCartney and me seeing Elton John the night John Lennon played, or seeing the Dead or the Who or Zeppelin. I really never had great seats at any of these shows. But this 82 tour, I noticed in my hometown, there was a ticket agency, Mr. Tickets, which I later wound up working with.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? We're going to go to, they were, the tour was also coming to the Meadowlands, but we were going to Nassau. It was like a week before the Meadowlands. And I went into there, and for a mere $35 a ticket, face value of the tickets, this is 1982, might have been $12 at the time. I was able to get ninth row on the floor. Wow. Not dead center, but pretty much it was, I could clearly remember it was on the, looking at the stage, you're looking towards the right side of the stage, but it was on the center aisle. So beautiful ninth row tickets. So I went there prepared to try to do some kind of business. How I'm going to do the business, it wasn't like I had the connection with maybe that BR guy, but he's probably, I knew enough that he's not going to, he's on tour with someone else. It's not like, Whitey was a rare breed staying with Rush. So I had to start fresh. So we go to Nassau Coliseum. I have a bunch of cocaine packaged up into half grams and gram pieces. And once again, boys and girls, we are not here to advise anyone to be involved with cocaine, let alone trying to distribute it.
Right.
It's a terrible thing. It almost cost me my life. But once again, as we've said before, it's just part of the story. And I can't change, what I did. So am I embarrassed about it? No, it's just the way it went. So we go to Nassau Coliseum.
And you're using we. Who's with you?
I was with, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Double O's friend.
Okay, Double O making a return.
Not Double O. It's for the kid that came up with the boil, toil and trouble, Frosty Fries, crazy double. This kid, Corey.
Okay.
And another friend of mine, RJ Leary. I can't remember who the fourth one was, but I wasn't the driver.
Okay.
Someone else drove. We schlepped out to Nassau.
Horrible drive.
A horrible drive. No matter what day of the week, no matter what time you go.
I went on a Tuesday.
And it was on a Saturday, but guys, it might have been better than during the week.
Yeah, Tuesday was horrible. We left at 3 o'clock in a car, got there at 7:30.
What was that for?
Springsteen.
Okay.
Yeah. Ugh. I wouldn't want to do that again. It took 4.5 hours. That could have been the main or something. Yeah, this was a Saturday, so it might have been a little lighter. Got there in plenty of time. Now, the opening band of this tour, of the show, and on the whole tour, was a band called Saga. And some of our older listeners, or people that listen to classic rock radio, they're still in rotation, sort of. There's a song called On the Loose and another song called Wind 'Em Up. They're a Canadian band, and they still play. This was their first U.S. tour, and the album was coming out, and so was MTV. And we go to the show, and it was a traditional 8 o'clock show. And we go in a little early, and I'm thinking, all right, what can I do here? I know what I'll do. I'll go over by the sound and the lighting boards. Maybe I could talk to someone, and offer my services. And I went over to the soundboard, and the guys got the laminate. And there's a good 30 minutes before the show, maybe even 40 minutes. And I introduced myself, and
I might have said I know a bunch of these, threw out some of these road crew names. Well, in this case, it didn't matter because this guy, his name was Alex, and he was the sound man for Saga. So he had no point of reference. He knew Rush, but he didn't know Whitey.
Right.
He didn't know these guys. He didn't know Hot Sam from Bob Seger, but he knew cocaine.
Oh.
And he heard that, and he said, yeah. He goes, remember, he looks at his watch. He goes, yeah, we got like a half hour. He goes, come on.
Whoa.
So
that's not what I was expecting.
He takes me. My friends are in the seats. I follow him through the floor of Nassau Coliseum, and we go into like the garden, into one of, I don't know if it was the center aisle or it was one of the end aisles, like where the Zamboni comes out.
Right.
But he takes me backstage, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm backstage at Jethro Tull. So, folks, last Stop Penn Station fans, think right now, oh man, I'm backstage at Lady Gaga or whatever your favorite band is. So he takes me back and he sort of shuffles me. There's nothing going on. There's nothing going on. And like BR, the driver in 1980, when I asked him about, working with these guys, because, it's like a morgue. There's just nothing going on. So anyway, it takes me in this back room, and I'm seeing visiting team dressing room, Islanders dressing room, right? Mm-hmm. So we do this transaction, and he brings in one of the Tull roadies. I remember the guy's name, and he was the guitar. It was Martin Barre's guitar roadie. The guy's name was Puddin'.
Puddin'.
Yeah, he brings him in.
All right.
And they buy what they buy, and Alex says to me, "Hey, listen, I know that I just got to get more money." He goes, "Can I see you after the show? We'll take more." I'm like, "Sure." So I'm on cloud 9, and he gives me the slap-on pass, not the golden ticket pass, right? He gives me the slap-on pass. So he says, "Look, it's like 10 to 8." He goes, "I got to get ready. We got to start like right at 8 o'clock." And just like BR had told me, he goes, "The show's going to be over at like 10:49 and 30 seconds. That's when Tull's done. I go, "All right." So he says, "All right." He goes, "Thanks a lot." And I don't know why he didn't walk me out, but he didn't.
Just left.
He sort of left the room, and I knew to get out.
Yeah.
So as I'm walking out, through the corridors of the Nassau Coliseum backstage area, there is the aforementioned Martin Barre, the guitarist of Jethro Tull, leaning with his back against the wall, twiddling his thumbs.
Wow.
And I see him, and I'm like, "Hey, Martin, I'm such a big fan." And he was very nice. I shake his hand, and I said, "Oh man, I'd love to." I go, "Can I get an autograph?" I was just like I'm stammering now. I was stammering, and I'm like, "What can he sign?" He could sign this pass.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, I don't have a Sharpie, mate." Mm-hmm. He goes, "Go inside and ask that guy." Well, the guy inside, and I knew who it was, but it was the bass player from Tull, who was David Pegg, who played with Fairport Convention for many years, from 79 till current. He's a
Wow.
Fairport, excuse me, he joined Tull in 79. He was with Fairport Convention from the Sandy Denny, was that her?
Yeah, Kamal Yee and
Right.
Life and Liege. Yeah,
Right.
wow, beautiful album. Yeah.
Lifetime Fairport guy.
Yeah.
He inherited the Tull job in 79. So
Wow.
that's the Islanders dressing room. I'm
Yeah.
sure Ian had his own private whatever.
The Dave Bossy suite or
Right.
whatever. Yeah.
Right. So there is no one back there. There's not a groupie. There's not a fan.
Sounds as boring as a Ring of Honor locker room.
They at least weren't staring at their phones because you couldn't do it back then.
That's true.
So I walk over, and Dave Pegg is sitting on the couch. I think he was reading the newspaper.
This is a Ring of Honor locker room.
And I said, excuse, there was a Sharpie sitting there. I said, can I use that, please? He thought I was going to ask him for his autograph. And he's like, so I grab it and I run back to Martin, and Martin signed it. And I knew to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
So I said, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to the show. He goes, oh, you're welcome. So Dave Pegg, they must have had a good laugh. Because when Martin was signing it, he looks over at Dave Pegg. This is like the most action they get back there.
This is when Colt and I used to travel. This happened more than you would know, where people would walk up to Colt and ask me for a Sharpie so that Colt could sign something for them.
Okay.
I know the feeling, Dave Pegg.
So we go out, we see the show. Saga's good. The Tull show was fantastic. Now it's the end. So I tell my three friends, listen, I'm going to try to go do business with these guys, and I'll be out to the car as soon as possible. I'm not going to dawdle or, because I knew based on what BR told me and based on what I had seen live, I didn't expect to be sitting there having a beer with Ian Anderson after the show. Yeah. So I go back, and this Alex, he's waiting for me right by that spot.
Ooh, okay.
Right? So he's like, come on. So he takes me, and we go beyond the backstage area to the ramps, and he brings me on the Saga bus.
Wow.
Like all these,
And this is old hat for you at this point with Rush.
With Rush, right. It was old hat. He brings me on the bus. There was a Saga bus. There were 3 trucks with equipment, and there was a Tull Road crew bus, and the Tull guys had special traveling arrangements. They weren't on the bus, on any bus. So I'm on the Saga bus, and basically they buy me out. The ultimate, right? This is the only problem, and if people that have experienced using cocaine and other drugs, the only bad thing about buying out is you don't have any left.
Oh, jeez. I thought you were going to say the old Vince McMahon. Oh, I sold out of T-shirts. Why didn't you print more? Or why didn't you bring more? Similar, though. Similar thoughts.
So in this, I'm back there for about 15 minutes. I meet all the guys from the Saga band. I'm meeting these other, the road crew. We did the business, and the road crew guys had a run. No, wait a minute. The Saga guys had packed their stuff already because when the set change happens, but they got to wait for the trucks to leave.
Sure.
And they wait to the end of the show to leave. So I'm on the bus, and I'm talking to these guys from Saga, and they're really nice boys. And I said to the one guy, there's 2 brothers, the Crichton brothers. I said to the guitar player, where are you playing? I knew they had a date in Philly. This is once again on the 18th.
Okay.
And I knew they had a date at the Spectrum on the 21st.
Wow.
So I said to Ian Crichton, the guitar. We got a lot of Ians floating around here.
Anderson, Crichton,
Ian Crichton. I said to, where are you playing tomorrow night? He goes, Glen Falls, New York.
Oh, the home of Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
I'm like, what? Now, I was savvy with my concert venues. And at this point in the Tull career, they're playing major arenas. Well, one guy that was on the bus who was able to give me an explanation was Saga's tour manager. I forget his name. He comes into the story later, but also a nice guy. He says, yeah, it's a small arena. He's got the Bible, the tour Bible of every city, distances, hotels. And he explains to me that the people that own the Joe Louis Arena
in Detroit,
right,
yep,
own this Glens Falls Arena.
The War Memorial or the Veterans Memorial, but presumably.
Right. And it's like a 6,000 seater. So it was, in other words, it was undersized for what if Tull might have done, let's say, Albany.
Okay.
They could have been at the big arena.
Sure.
But they do it as a favor. All the bands, whether you're, you fill in the blank. If it was Ozzy on tour.
Right.
Or whomever, it was Tom Petty. You do Joe Louis, you do Glen Falls. It's a package deal. It's not like you get less money.
Ring of Honor and AEW do the same thing with similar venues. So there's the Express Company owns the venue in Pittsburgh, Columbus. Same sort of thing where
you want to work with the promoter.
Right. And they presumably cut Gary Jester deals the more we book with them. So.
Right. The only downside would be that you don't get the merch sales that you would if they were playing in Albany at the big place or whatever. Anyway, but that's part of the story. So I said to the road manager of Saga, who was and the guitar player Ian Crichton, I said, hey, and they knew I had no more cocaine. I said, hey, listen, don't you have a date Tuesday in Philly? So once again, we're in Nassau Coliseum on Saturday night, September 18th. They're heading to Glen Falls on the 19th.
Which is northwest of where they're going. Right.
They're going 4 hours north, 3 hours, whatever it is. And I said, what do you have after Glen Falls? They go, well, we have the day off. We go right to Philly. So I said, let me ask you a question. Do you think I could come with you on the bus to Glen Falls? And then on the way back, I could have one of my friends pick me up like right off the New Jersey Turnpike, because you're eventually going to be taking the Turnpike down to the Spectrum.
Yeah.
So in theory, I just need to, I would be in Glen Falls the 19th. And after the Glen Falls show, in the middle of the night, I would need someone to pick me up like at exit 13 in Elizabeth, the home of the great Jay Lethal.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And they said, no problem.
What? They just met you.
And they knew I had nothing. Well, what I told them was, hey, listen, I'll be able to come to Philly with a bunch of stuff. But
they didn't know for sure.
They didn't know for sure.
You could have had a gun or a knife or what
they
the hell
didn't
were
know
they
for
thinking?
sure. But I had a good vibe, and they were feeling no pain. And so now I tell them, hey, listen, when's the bus leaving? They're like, well, we'll be out of here probably like 30 minutes. I go, well, I got to go tell my friends because my friends were outside waiting for me. So at that point, the road manager from Saga gave me the golden pass. Because now, in case I'll have a problem getting back in the building. So I go out, I tell Corey and RJ and my other friend, I'm on the road. I'm on tour, right?
You don't have any clothes. You don't have any.
I have nothing. I've got bupkis.
I picture you with a stick you tied up.
I've got bupkis. And what happened was before after the bus left, they drove into New York City. In an attempt, they knew someone else who had more stuff.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Okay.
So they didn't, but they were, look, Cary, relax. We got you. and I had to trust in these guys. Like, what if they just dumped me off in Glen Falls? I mean, I had money to get home.
Right.
But
at least you had some cash.
They didn't vibe that way. So I'm on the bus with the Saga boys, and off we go to New York City, then to Glen Falls. They had plenty of alcohol on there, and somehow I was able to fall asleep. And when I opened my eyes, I'm like, I'm on this bus by myself. I had a watch. It was like 2:30 in the afternoon.
Holy crap.
Right. Like I maybe fell asleep like 7 in the morning or something.
Wow.
And I look out the window, and we're in the back of this small arena in Glen Falls.
Wow.
And I'm by myself on the bus. And they gave me, I had the golden Wilbur, right? So I opened the bus door, which is this, this like lever thing.
Yeah. It's a manual work there.
One of the other roadies from Tull, English guy, he sees me. He thinks I'm a Saga roadie or something. He goes, "Hey, mate, you got any birds on that bus?" You know what he's talking about?
Women.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, no, man. I go, no. But I wasn't sure what he was talking about. I thought maybe he's thinking weed. I just knew to say no. So I'm getting off the bus, and the sound man guy, Alec, is coming at me, and he's like, "Hey, how you?" He goes, "You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah." No, there's no shower. So he tells me, "Listen, I can't let you keep the golden pass. You got to use a regular pass." Mm-hmm. He goes, "But and you can't go backstage." Mm-hmm. Right? Apparently, there was a guy, Kenny Wiley, who was Tull's road crew manager, and he was very, very, just as tight as the band was. The road crew wasn't, even though he was the head of the whole tour, mm-hmm. He was very, very tight. And they ran this thing like a military operation. So I'm like, it's fine. I said, as long as you guys are still going to give me a ride back, right? He's like, yeah, don't worry. So now I get off the bus. I'm in Glen Falls. I'm starving. And I said to Alec, I go, do you know where's, like he's going to know Glen Falls. Right. He goes, I think the town's right over. It was a little bridge. Mm-hmm. And I go over this little bridge, and there's a diner, right? And I got some food. And when I'm walking back to the building, I see Martin Barre. There was a Marriott, sort of, kind of close to where the building was. Mm-hmm. Martin Barre's walking by himself down the street, and he's got a guitar case. He just chose to walk to the building as opposed to maybe having a van, or they didn't use limos. Mm-hmm. Maybe in the 70s they did, but no. So I go back. It's like 3:30. So I run into the guitar player from Saga, Ian Crichton, and I'm like, "Hey, you think it would be cool if I went in and saw Tull do the sound check?" He's like, "I don't know, man." He goes, the other day, last week, we were in Maple Leaf Gardens.
Oh, okay.
And it was a sound check. And, the only people in the building are like the people setting up the chairs.
Right.
And the road crew. Yeah. And he goes, Ian Anderson, he saw someone sitting like 30 rows back just watching. Mm-hmm. And he took the time to like stop the sound check and it's like, "Hey, what are you doing out there? Like who are you?" Right. So I'm like, well, shit, I don't want that to happen. But yet it would be fascinating, like maybe I could I'll just right now. Wouldn't you want to see a Bruce Springsteen sound check?
I would, yeah, that'd be cool.
AJ, wouldn't you want to see a Nine Inch Nails sound check? So Alec, the sound man, is within this. He goes, "Listen, come with me. And he goes, they start the sound check at 4. So he takes me probably to like, it was the building only had a floor and one lower level, like one tier, sort of.
Like Sable Arena?
It might have had a second level, but he takes me like sort of like the UMBC Center.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Did I say that right?
UMBC, yeah. Like a small college basketball.
Right.
Yep.
So the sound man, he says, listen, he goes, just come with me. So I go in. I'm tiptoeing. So we go to the lower level. And we go like basically to the last row, and he says, come here. And so he had us standing in the gate. Like, in other words, if you went out to go take a leak or buy popcorn,
yep,
the little, tunnel,
yep,
we'll just stand here. And he was nice enough to stand with me. And I got to see this whole process, which I'm sure is a typical process for most bands. First, the drummer came out and they sound checked the drums. Then it was the drummer and the bass player, and they did their little thing. Then the keyboard player was added. And then the guitar player, Martin Barre, came out. And when everyone was out and everyone did their sound check, then comes the king. Then boys and girls, once again, put your favorite celebrity in the thing. Don't worry, it's Ian Anderson, who most of you probably don't even know who it is, but the lead guy from Tull. And I was just fascinated. And when he came out, they ran through a couple of songs, not completely. And there was a song that they hadn't been playing. That's a famous old Tull song called New Day Yesterday and Old Day Now. And they wanted to add it to the set. And they were working out just the ending of it. How do you want it to close? And I'm not a musician, but just being such as like, if you were at Bruce and they were going to add glory days to the set and the end of it, just how they wanted to do the crescendo.
Right.
So that was fascinating. Well, what also happened during the sound check, and I had no idea from this, I mentioned earlier, the name of the album was Broadsword and the Beast, and it was this Viking kind of mythical theme to some of the songs. So there was this big dragon head on stage that was like actually a platform with stairs behind it.
Oh, wow.
And they had another side with some other ship, like a ship mast kind of thing. But what I didn't know, well, Ian starts yelling or starts into the mic about the road crew to the road crew that he goes, these fucking rope ladders better be up here tonight. And I didn't know. Well, part of the set was, the old rope ladders you see in these old movies with the sailors climbing up, right? There were like 4 of these rope ladders that sort of meshed together and gave this great effect. And it was part of the opening of the show, when they're raised. Yeah. And they didn't have time, apparently, at Nassau. Before the Nassau show, I think they were coming from like Pittsburgh. It was like someone threw darts and just. So he was, these fucking rope ladders better be up here tonight. So, and that's the way he talked to the road crew. Yeah. So anyway, I got to see the sound check. I snuck out. All I knew at this, by now it was like 5:30. I think I walked back into town and stopped at a bar and had a couple of drinks. And I didn't have a ticket. All I had was the pass. And the place was packed. And I remember clearly like it was yesterday. It's amazing. AJ and I were talking, our producer AJ, who we're grateful for helping us with this, we're talking that it's easier to remember things from 20, 30 years ago than from 2 days ago. Yeah. But I sat in the aisle, like picture being at the Meadowlands, like the lower level, but the first, in front of the stage, not on the side. Yeah. Like the best. And they didn't, the security there just let the people
let them do what they want.
Right. And I sat there for sat in the aisle with other people. I wasn't the only person sitting in the aisle. And when the show ended, I was a little nervous, but there was the Saga bus.
Wow.
And I got on the bus, and off I went with them. I made a phone call in between to my dear friend Gary Fennell, who was my partner with Joe Savage when we went to made that crazy trip cross country, and many others. He's been referenced a number of times. I called Gary, and I'm like, Gary, you're not going to believe this. And I tell him the story. I said, look, I'm going to be like in Elizabeth. That was the closest place.
Right.
It was at exit 13. Mm-hmm. You're familiar with that, right?
Yeah. Well,
where the Goethals Bridge.
Right. They go into the Newark airport. You know, living in Allentown, you usually go to Philly or Newark, and you don't usually fly to Allentown. So yeah, that's right that's the airport's, I think, exit 14. So
what I did was I called him up when we were leaving from a payphone. And I mean, I called him up beforehand. So this means he's got to pick me up at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning.
Holy crap.
And I think we knew that there was a diner off the exit. Mm-hmm. Excuse me?
44.
Okay. There was a diner off the exit. And Gary was there. And I told him the story. And he was like, he's like just like shaking his head. And he was a fan too. But it's like, it was just like too much. It's like it's 5:30 in the morning.
Right.
Right. And I think he brought me, I went to my parents' house, just what they want. After not seeing me for God knows how long, me to be dragging ass into their house at 6 in the morning on a Monday morning.
Wow.
So
had you called them at any point recently, or?
I was back and forth. This is 1982, and I was primarily staying with them.
You're about 25, 27. Okay.
So now the plan is this. It's Monday. I don't sleep very long, but I knew what I had to do. See, I had the money to pay my friend. I was dealing with my friend Jimmy, who was a rock and roll fan. No shredded.
Shredded's gone.
And whether I was dealing with him or not, and I tell Jimmy this story, and he was he had a hookup with the Allman Brothers.
Okay.
He used to sell coke to like this is a surprise. Sell coke to Greg Allman.
Okay.
And he knew Butch Trucks, and he was a rock and roller.
My sister, I believe, is named after Jessica.
Really?
Yeah. So there's a whole music thing in
got the coolest parents.
Yeah.
Rock and roll parents. So I tell Jimmy, look, he was the guy to get it from, and he was loaded up and with product. I go, look, we can go right now to Philly, and I think the Saga road crew manager gave me, this was like, Whitey had given me the list of names, and I think one of the guys from Bob Seger had given me a sheet with the dates on it. Like you didn't even know where the dates, to find dates of your band.
Yeah.
Like there was Cream Magazine or Polestar, but you couldn't, it was hard to find a concise thing. But the road crew guy from the road manager of Saga gave me the book.
Wow.
He gave me the Bible. Mm-hmm. So I say, and plus the Saga guys who had that day off.
Yeah.
Were like, what's the hotel? You know the hotel. No, not the one, the ECW.
The Cylinder of Sin.
No. It wasn't in a Sheraton back in the day.
There's a beautiful Sheraton.
Right, near the stadiums.
Yep.
That's where they were.
Okay.
So I tell Jimmy, and he's all about it. Mm-hmm. And he was a little older than me by like maybe 3 or 4 years. And he was a savvy guy. he wasn't a sleazeball at all. He knew how to speak to people. So it was myself, Jimmy, and our friend Joe McGovern, and we all went down. Now we're going down there, and we get a room for ourselves. It was maybe about 6 p.m. on Monday, which is the day off.
Gotcha.
And now I got to find these guys, but it wasn't hard. And I find the Saga guys, and fortunately, they still had some money. And now the Tull Road crew had rolled in.
Oh, okay.
So now, and they had like at that point in time, they had, it was a big show there between, 3 truck drivers, the stagehands, the riggers, the sound and lighting guy. I mean, you're talking like a 16-man road crew, which might be small on some standards, but it was significant. So you've got all these road crew guys and the Saga guys. Where the band was, we didn't care. I mean, I sort of did, but we didn't know. I think I asked the Puddin, the Tull guitar roadie, is the band staying here? He goes, mate, who gives a fuck with this thing? I hope they're not staying here. So
that's a good answer. That's a good non-committal by the roadie.
Right.
Yeah.
They were probably staying at a hotel away from the action. Not that there were gangs of kids. There'd be a small group of people, but they don't want to be near the building. They were probably in downtown Philly at some nice hotel. They've got a full day off and a Tuesday morning to relax and blah blah blah. So they want to be, and Ian Anderson's got this thing about Indian food. So they don't want to be near the road crew. Anyway, we're hanging out and we're partying. And we're partying, and we're partying. And before you know it, it's like 3 a.m. And the guy who was the singer of Saga, who now I'm like good friends with, Michael Sadler, says, oh shit. I got to be on MMR at 9 a.m. Tell the people what
MMR has been the #1 rock station in Philadelphia since 1971 or 2. Or I mean, it's been around. It's an institution. Pierre Robert. I mean, it's the rock station.
I think it was with Pierre Robert.
And I mean, MMR brought Bruce Springsteen to Philly. They were the first to promote him. They've been ahead of the curve. They were ahead of the curve on all the great 70s acts.
It might not have been 9 a.m. It might have been worse.
It probably was worse.
It was. I think it was noon because it's 3 a.m. and he knew this guy had enough. They're nice people, but he knew at this point I am not going to be able to sleep.
Yeah.
And then he says, after he says about the line about having to go on MMR, he goes, "Oh Christ!" Then I got to play. They were excited to be playing the Spectrum in Philly.
Yeah.
That's like a legendary bill. He goes, and he turns to one of the Tull guys who would have the information. He goes, did the show sell well? He goes, sold out, mate. They told us no comps.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh no. and this was like right at the time when those 2 aforementioned songs were starting to get MTV recognition.
Wow.
Starting to get FM radio recognition. I mean, MMR's having them on.
Yeah.
And we pretty much stayed up with Michael Sadler for most of the morning.
Holy crap.
And the road manager from Saga sort of made sure that he got on, made it to the radio station. We went to our rooms at some point. We probably didn't sleep much, if at all. They left us tickets, real tickets. We didn't need after show passes because we knew at that point, the party's over because after the 21st, they were heading to Cleveland and then Ottawa, and
Oh, wow.
and eventually we're swinging around back to New Haven, but that was a week later. So we spent all Monday and Monday evening, and so that was enough. Anyway, it comes to, so we make it to go to pick up our tickets. And they gave us, it's always the same with these bands. A friend of mine had a Springsteen connection too. It's always 10th row center.
Wow.
Yeah, they save, and if they don't sell them, these were like the only comps they were able to get, So if they don't sell them, if they don't use them, they dump them back in.
Yeah. Got second row WWF tickets like that.
Right, exactly.
In 1997.
So when we walked in, Saga was maybe in their second song. And when we went into our seats, just the way the lighting was, and it was sort of enough on the crowd that Michael Sadler guy, I hope I'm not messing up his name, he saw us from stage.
Wow.
And he just sort of gave us the he's okay sign. Yeah. And yeah. He made it.
Wow.
He made it.
Thank God.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And you made it. I mean, it sounds like you used the word partying 5 times, Cary. Indicates some heavy partying.
Yeah, there was some heavy partying. So when the show ended, and myself, Jimmy, and Joe McGovern, we didn't say goodbye to anyone. What we had said to them in the room with the road crew and with the Saga guys is, well, you know what? After you go traipsing around Cleveland and all these other cities, when you come back for the New Haven, Meadowlands, Providence swing, before you go south,
yeah,
we could see you on the 28th in New Haven, if that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, that's fine. And now we had the Bible, so we knew where they were staying and everything. So the story is going to continue.
Oh, okay.
That's
a cliffhanger. What happens when we get to New Haven?
Well,
which is a rockin' city. I think we can leave the people wondering.
Right. We're going to go to New Haven. We'll give them a taste of this.
Okay.
We're not only going to go to New Haven, but approximately 6 days later, we're going to go back to Providence, Rhode Island,
the home of Bobby Cruz,
and then fly.
What?
Fly to Hampton, Virginia.
Where do you land flying to? Did you fly to Roanoke?
Virginia Beach or something?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm thinking the wrong, yeah.
Yeah, there's
yep, you fly to Norfolk.
There's a lot more to this story, and we're going to tell it, and there's some real highs and some real lows, but we hope that you enjoyed this tale. We hope you filled in the blank with your favorite artist, and think about that you're going to have 4 more dates with them, and where that's right, you, the listener, eventually get to meet your favorite artist.
Wow. Okay. That's a cliffhanger and a half for us. And now I want to listen to Saga. I got that song stuck in got that opening. Yeah. Well, that was a lot of fun, Cary. Thanks for walking us through that. Next week on Last Stop Penn Station, more Saga and more Jethro Tull. And we're also going to get to this. We promised to talk about this memorabilia stuff. Yeah, it's been a quarantine guilty pleasure. It's been fun. Ian's been really getting, Ian's a collector. I found out tonight, I never really knew this, that AJ is a bit of a collector. He and you want to talk about a guilty pleasure? National Geographics. Really? Wow. Okay. Yeah. And as you guys know from my wrestling posters, amazing, and, my baseball, so we're going to tie in a lot of this because baseball cards is pretty much what led me. Strangely enough, baseball cards led me
to ticket scalping
Okay.
and to the streets of New York City. And so we're going to touch on a lot of this.
And it's all about almost the same time. It almost converges with a lot of the rock and roll stories we're talking about.
It absolutely does.
So that's really interesting. And I'm curious to see how you got the funds for this, because it sounds like the cocaine interests were lining up with the baseball cards and the tickets. And so it's interesting.
Well, we hope that you enjoyed our presentation of Last Stop Penn Station. We hope that you subscribe on iTunes and give us a review.
We've been stuck at 77, I believe.
Yeah,
76.
come on, give us give us even a bad review. That's all right.
Yeah.
We have the Last Stop Penn Station T-shirt as well as the Camel T-shirt available at Pro Wrestling Tees, and I think I heard a rumor that the Ian Riccaboni figure, there might be 2 left.
There's a handful. There's a handful. ROHProShop.com. I have 3 right now that I can sign. So you can hit me up on Twitter or Facebook.
And it's going to a good cause.
It is. The Bradbury Sullivan Community Center in Allentown, Pennsylvania, raised over $1,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we're trying to help out where Cary and I both live. And it's especially times like these, organizations like that need the extra money. So
beautiful.
Yeah. So it was a heck of a time. Enjoyed going to, Nassau Coliseum, to
Glen Falls,
home of Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Jim Duggan. Instead of Martin Barre, Jim Duggan has been going across the,
That's all I kept picturing when you were talking about it. And Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Is he really from Glen Falls?
He is. He was. Right. Yeah, his dad was the chief of police there.
Nice little town.
Yeah.
I asked about, I had nothing else to do except talk to these guys. I would ask about more about this arena. There was what I guess you would call a AAA hockey team.
Yeah, and the WWF used to go there every 3 months almost. Yeah, they were there even before they had Jim Duggan. They would go there all the time.
Right. So it was a good size building for these kind of events.
Yeah, what an episode! And that's a wrap for this week. For Cary, I'm Ian. For AJ. For
my friend Eric, who helps me with these notes that are a pain in the ass.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Eric.
And Lamb Chop. It's been Last Stop Penn Station. Happy wrestling, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
We hail you for listening to Last Stop Penn Station podcast. Rate, review, like, subscribe, and share on your favorite platform. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or at laststoppennstation.com.